Welcome back to our series on navigating the holidays.
hmm
After losing someone close, it's a time that can bring up, both joy and sadness. And we're here to help you find moments of peace in the midst of all of that grief. Last week, we talked about self-care and how important it is to just let yourself grieve in your own way, especially during this time of year.
It can be so important.
Yeah. And this week, we're diving into tip one,
Mm.
sharing memories with loved ones.
Well, that's a good one.
I remember one Christmas after my grandfather passed away, it felt impossible to even think about putting up the tree.
I can imagine.
But then my aunt, she brought out a box filled with all his old ornaments, and each one had a story. We spent the whole evening just laughing and crying, remembering his quirky sense of humor and how he always insisted on hanging the star on top of the tree, and he would always get it lopsided.
Oh, that's sweet.
It was a turning point for me. That evening, the silence in the house felt a little less empty.
What's interesting is that sharing memories after a loss, it's not just a sentimental thing. It's actually a very human instinct. It's how we process grief.
Yeah.
How we keep that person's spirit alive in our hearts and minds. And during the holidays, when traditions and memories are all around us, it can be even more powerful to share those memories. Those sights, sounds, even smells can bring those memories rushing back.
It makes sense, though. I remember there were times when I wanted to avoid those memories. It was just too painful.
Right.
But I learned that by pushing them away, you just feel more isolated. And sharing them, even the ones that hurt, it helps keep that connection alive. It's like we're honoring their presence, even when they're not physically with us.
And there's research that actually shows that talking about loved ones after a loss, it releases endorphins, and those endorphins actually boost your mood. So you're not just remembering, you're actually helping your brain to cope. It's like a natural way to heal.
So it's like you're giving yourself a little bit of emotional medicine just by remembering. It's not about erasing the sadness, but finding ways to sort of manage it, to make space for it alongside all the other emotions.
Exactly. And our source material actually highlights some other benefits of sharing memories, especially around the holidays. For instance, it can give you comfort and support. When you share those memories with people who also knew and loved that person, it helps you to feel less alone in your grief. There's a sense of shared understanding.
Right. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Just hearing stories that other people would tell about my grandfather and how he touched their lives, it helped me feel less alone in my sadness. It was like we were all creating this tapestry of his life, and each memory was a thread that contributed to the bigger picture.
And it keeps their memory alive. It's a way to celebrate their life, their impact on the world, their quirks, all those things that made them who they were. And sometimes those memories can even bring a smile through the tears. They remind us of all the joy that they brought into our lives.
So it's not just about being sad. It's about acknowledging all of our emotions. The sadness, yes, but also the love, the laughter, and being grateful that we had them in our lives.
It's a healthy way to process grief. Sharing memories lets you express your sadness, even your anger, and all the confusing emotions that can come with loss. And you're doing it in a supportive environment. It's like giving yourself permission to really feel those emotions.
It's like acknowledging them instead of trying to suppress them. And when you share them with others, it helps to move through them in a healthier way.
Exactly. It's not about forgetting. It's about finding ways to integrate those memories into your life so they feel manageable.
That's a great way to put it.
And finally, sharing memories, especially during the holidays, can actually strengthen family bonds.
Oh, interesting.
It creates a sense of unity, of shared history, especially during a time when families can, sometimes feel kind of fractured or strained. It can bring people closer and give a feeling of continuity, even with the loss.
It's like those memories become something you all share, something to hold on to, and it gives strength and comfort as you navigate this time of year and even beyond the holidays.
Exactly. A shared treasure for everyone. It creates a connection that transcends the physical absence.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about, why sharing memories is so important,
That's right.
especially during the holidays.
Yeah.
But how do we actually do that? How do we create a space to share those memories when everything feels so raw and sensitive? And it's like you're saying, it's not about pretending that they're still here or, trying to erase the sadness. It's about finding ways to acknowledge that they're gone, but still celebrate the fact that they were in our lives.
Exactly. And there are so many ways to do that. It depends on your family and what you're comfortable with. Like one of the sources you shared talked about just taking time during, family gatherings to reminisce.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything formal. It could be as simple as saying, hey, remember that time when, and just letting the stories come out naturally.
Yeah, it's about giving everyone permission to share, but, not making anyone feel pressured or uncomfortable, because grief affects everyone differently. What feels right for one person might not feel right for someone else.
Exactly. Some people will want to share very openly. Others might just want to listen or have a quiet moment to themselves. I think the important thing is to make sure everyone feels respected and supported.
So creating a safe space is like the foundation. And then from there, we can look at different ways to share those memories. I know the source I found mentioned using visual aids like photographs or videos, even scrapbooks.
Visuals can be so powerful. I mean, they can really bring back memories and emotions. Imagine getting everyone together and looking at old pictures, maybe put on some music that person loved.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a really powerful shared experience, one that brings laughter and tears and a feeling of connection.
I love that. After my grandmother passed away, we found a box of old home movies in her attic. They were on those old Super 8 film reels. We had them converted to digital, and we all watched them together. Just seeing those old grainy images of her laughing with her friends and playing with us grandkids. It was like she was right there with us.
And it's not just about the past. You can create new traditions to keep their memory alive. You could cook their favorite meal or volunteer for a cause they cared about. You could even start a whole new tradition in their honor.
That's a great idea. It's like finding a way to make them a part of our lives going forward. It's a way to keep their memory alive in a hopeful way.
Exactly. It's about finding a way to move forward, to keep things going, but in a way that honors their memory. And even small things can be meaningful. Lighting a candle, sharing a favorite quote or a poem, or even just writing a letter to them expressing how you feel. It's all about keeping that connection.
So it's not about these big gestures, but really it's those little heartfelt things you can do to remember them that can bring comfort and peace. And, not every memory has to be sad.
You're right. Laughter can be very healing. Just sharing funny stories or thinking about those little quirky things they always did or just remembering their laugh. Those are all powerful reminders of the joy that they brought to our lives. It's about remembering the good times, too.
Yeah, it's about seeing the whole picture, the good and the bad, and just letting ourselves feel all of it. It's all part of healing.
It really is. And that brings up another important point. You need to be patient with yourself and with others. Grief is a journey. It takes time, and there's no right way to do it. What's comforting for one person might not work for someone else.
So you need to find what feels right for you and for your family.
Yeah.
And be respectful of everyone's needs. There's no one right way to grieve, and what works today might not work tomorrow.
And it's always okay to ask for help. If the holidays get to be too much, don't be afraid to talk to someone you trust, a friend or family member, or even a therapist. You don't have to go through it alone.
Thinking about, my own experience after losing my grandfather, I realized just how much it meant to have people around me supporting me. Just those little acts of kindness, someone listening to me, saying the right thing at the right time, those things really helped me. It makes me think, how can we be that for someone else? How can we be there for someone who is grieving, especially during the holidays? Because sometimes it's hard to know what to do or say when someone is hurting so much.
It can be. It can be hard. And I think a lot of times we overthink it. We worry about saying the wrong thing or making things worse,
Yeah.
But one of the sources I was looking at really emphasized the fact that sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there. Just being present, listening without judgment, just letting that person know that you care. That can make all the difference in the world.
So it's not about trying to fix things or giving advice that they didn't ask for.
Yeah.
It's about just being there for them.
Right. Sometimes the most comforting words are just, I'm so sorry for your loss, or I'm here for you. You're acknowledging their pain and offering your support. You're not trying to take it away or tell them how to feel.
And I imagine that just doing little things to help out can make things a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Especially when even small tasks can feel so overwhelming.
Absolutely. Offering to run errands or cook a meal or help out around the house can make a big difference. Those little things can really help to lighten the load and give them a little bit of breathing room emotionally.
What about those times when you need to have, the harder conversations? I know I sometimes didn't know how to respond when people tried to say something to me to make me feel better.
Well, one of the sources talked about validating their feelings. So instead of saying, I know how you feel. You could say something like, it sounds like you're really sad, and that's completely understandable. You're acknowledging what they're going through without comparing it to your own experience.
Yeah, it's about meeting them where they are.
Right. And remember to be patient. Grief doesn't have a timeline. So don't say things like, time heals all wounds, or stay strong. Just simple things like, this must be so hard for you, or I can't even imagine what you're going through.
It's about letting them grieve in their own way, in their own time.
Exactly. And just remember that supporting someone who's grieving is not a one-time thing. It's important to check in with them regularly, especially during the holidays and on anniversaries. Those times can be really hard. Reaching out to them during those times can make them feel seen and supported.
So it's about being there, showing them you care, and understanding what they're going through, and not trying to rush things or tell them what they should be doing.
And even if you don't know what to say, it's okay. Just being there, listening to them, and showing them you care is really all you need to do.
This deep dive has been so helpful. It's given us so much to think about when it comes to sharing memories during the holidays, both for ourselves and for the people we care about who are going through this. It's a good reminder that even when we're dealing with loss, there's still so much love and connection to be found.
It's about finding those ways to keep those memories alive and still allow ourselves to feel joy and gratitude during this time of year.
And as we wrap up this week's episode, I'm going to leave you with this. What's one small act of kindness that you can do for someone who is grieving this holiday season? Maybe it's a quick phone call to check in on them. Maybe it's sending a card. Maybe it's offering to help out with something. Even the smallest gesture can make a world of difference. Remember, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to care enough to show up for someone who needs you. We'll be back next week with tip #2 in our series on navigating the holidays after a loss. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.